Cool car. So I want to do a quick little video about something that has been taking up a lot of my time recently, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. I don't really know why I wanted to do it in this format. This feels a little weird for me walking around and talking in front of strangers, but if it's good enough for Casey and Neistat, it's good enough for me. So I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 pretty much full time since it's come out. I've gotten about an hour per dollar, and I've finished the game plot-wise. And I feel like that gives me a little bit of authority on talking about this game. Now, what I'm about to say about it, of course, is from the experience that I've had playing on my computer, the specs of which will be up here. And that's in no way to minimize anyone else's experience while playing this game. Obviously, if you're playing it on a base gen system or a dog shit computer, we've seen the kind of horrible graphics and glitches that this game's had. So I'm not trying to say that this is the definitive experience that you're going to have while playing the game, but I also want to illustrate the fact that I'm not running on a super duper beast of a machine, right, by any means. I'm pretty much playing on a generic mid-range computer, so it is entirely possible to get this. In fact, my roommate, whose computer specs are going to be listed here, has been able to play the game pretty consistently. So what are the things that I wanted to talk about? Well, mostly the plot. It's a very easy to beat game. Of the 80 or so hours that I've played into it, maybe 15 or 16 of those hours were spent doing main story missions. The majority of the game that's going to take up is doing side stuff. And to me, that's both a good and a bad thing, right? On the one hand, it's a game that is going to be able to consume a lot of your free time. This is a game that you will get your money's worth in as far as length of playtime is concerned. The problem with that is that the majority of the time you're going to spend playing this game is going to be spent doing side missions, which is going to get into one of the biggest gripes that I have with this game, and that is something called the ludonarrative. Now, what is a ludonarrative? Ludonarrative in a video game is, well, I don't know the dictionary definition of the word. Essentially what that means is how the plot and messages of the game's written story work with the actual gameplay of the game. A good example of this being done wrongly is in The Last of Us 2. How the whole point of that game is about how life is precious and something that needs to be kind of savored and protected, and you're going around stabbing people and killing an endless amount of NPCs. That's where the ludonarrative kind of fails a little bit. In Cyberpunk 2077, without trying to get too much into the plot, essentially you are in a race against time to remove the engram of Johnny Silverhand out of your brain. A lot of this stuff was put out in the trailers for the game, so this isn't getting into any sort of spoiler territory, but you do side missions in order to gain reputation within the game's universe to kind of recruit more people to help you out getting that final mission. It's a race against time. The problem with that is that the story's narrative almost actively discourages you from doing any sort of side missions. In fact, it's possible to complete the game without doing almost any of the side missions themselves. They're really only there to grind experience points and to make connections with the game that ultimately prove fairly inconsequential to your ability to finish the game. And ultimately, I think that's where the game fails. Most, at least. We can talk about the bugs forever, we can talk about the technical issues, we can talk about the graphical requirements required in order to run the game, but at the end of the day, those can all be fixed with patches, and as CD Projekt Red has stated multiple times, they will be fixed with patches. You can't fix the narrative of the game without rewriting it or adding additional missions into it. Now, as we've seen with The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red has absolutely no problems adding content into the game afterwards through free DLCs, which we can probably expect with the game at the size and scale of Cyberpunk 2077. However, the speed in which the narrative of the game goes, coupled with the idea to just fuck off and do your own thing for a while a chip is killing you, doesn't really seem like something that can be easily fixed. And ultimately, that's kind of where my thoughts lie. I've gotten the time out of it. I've gotten the 80 hours or so out of the game, and realistically, I've got probably another 30 in order to 100% complete the game. I've even done 2 of the additional endings. I think there's a total of maybe 8 or 9, depending on who you've romanced, depending on the side quests you've done, and depending on other situations and decisions that you've made throughout the game. But ultimately, it does come down to the AAA ending generator of pick which option you want to have. There is a nice epilogue with some of the characters that you've met along the way, but ultimately those are inconsequential. At the end of the day, I would recommend everyone to play this game. It's fantastic, and the things that will be able to be done with this universe as time goes on through additional DLC and bug fixes is fantastic. I think the game will eventually live up to the hype that it was initially given. It's just a matter of time for it to come out. I'm not going to get into why it was released bugged. I'm not going to get into why the game isn't what it was before, because there's a million videos on it. I just wanted to give an unbiased opinion of my experience playing the game, and I hope you check it out. Worst case scenario, torrent the fucking thing. It's on GOG. There's no DRM. That way, at least you get it for free. You still get to play the game. And maybe down the line, a sale comes out with some DLC. CD Projekt Red makes your money. Other than that, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.